I'm so glad you're here for another episode of Mechanism Monday, where every Monday we write out the electron-pushing arrow mechanisms for different organic reactions. In last week's video, I asked if you could solve the mechanism for this chemical transformation, so if you haven't had a chance, pause the video now and try it independently. And make sure you stick around to the end because I'll give you another mechanism to solve for next week's video. This reaction is cool because if you're a regular viewer of this channel, then there's probably some intuitive stuff, but then there's also probably a little bit of unintuitive stuff. Particularly when we think about this epoxide. And most students think that epoxides are incredibly reactive, and in fact they are. But in organic chemistry, when you learn it in a course, it seems like it's overemphasized. So in fact, in my own practical synthesis challenges, I've actually synthesized molecules that have epoxides that I thought would react, but other groups react first. So while it's true that epoxides are pretty reactive, as you can see, since it's both in our starting material and our final product, it's not the most reactive functional group on this molecule given our conditions. So the first thing I need to note is that this KNTMS group is actually just a base. So you can think of this as an ionic compound where potassium is the cation, and then you have a nitrogen that's going to be negatively charged since it has two lone pairs on it, and then there's just two TMS groups. And TMS just stands for trimethylsilyl. So there'll be a silicon atom with three methyl groups coming off of it, and this is just going to act as a base. And now importantly, what we have here, given our structure, is we actually have a carbonyl compound in the form of this ester. And given the location of all the functional groups here, what we actually have is a situation where we have some carbon-hydrogen bonds that are going to be relatively acidic, especially given the fact that we're using a very strong, big, bulky base. So in fact, these hydrogens we can consider to be relatively acidic. So in fact, the first step in this mechanism is going to be to do a nucleophilic attack where we come and deprotonate one of those hydrogens. And this actually causes these electrons to shift down here and is actually going to cause a chain event where these electrons are also going to end up moving located in this aromatic ring. So in fact, what will happen is we can actually have these pi electrons shift over this way, which is going to form a brand new alkene at this position and also serve to kick up these pi electrons. So that will end up making this oxygen negatively charged. So it's a lot happening all in a single step. So this gives us a new product where we still have these two cyclic rings. We only have two pi bonds located in this ring, and now we have formed a brand new pi bond here. Our oxygen is still located here. This oxygen is now going to be negatively charged since it contains three lone pairs on this oxygen and only a single bond, and then we still have this methoxy group down here. And then remember, we had these pi electrons come down, which means we have another pi bond right here. And now what we've generated is an enolate. And now we have an enolate and we have a molecule that can react with one another. And here's where most students might predict, if you were just given this reaction, that what would happen is that when our nucleophile attacks, it may open this epoxide, but that's not actually what happens. So what ends up happening next is going to be a Michael addition reaction. Because now we have this enolate species where these electrons can come down and we can use this pi bond as a nucleophile to do a Michael addition reaction. However, what we also have is a situation where more electron flow can happen first. So these electrons, instead of coming to attack this 4 position, will instead end up shifting over here to reform this aromatic ring, which would be the driving force for that happening. And in doing so, this is going to necessitate a delocalization of these pi electrons. So these pi electrons are actually the ones that will come and attack this carbon position to do what you might consider to be a Michael reaction with this alpha-beta unsaturated ketone, where these electrons will shift down, necessitating the movement of these electrons to oxygen. So in doing so, we're doing what's basically a Michael addition reaction. We're reforming our aromatic ring at this position with the methoxy group on it. We've reformed this carbon to oxygen double bond. This 5-membered ring still looks mostly the same, except for now we've formed that brand new carbon to carbon bond at this position. So then that 6-membered ring will be located here. Since we shifted over the pi electrons, our new pi electrons or carbon to carbon double bond are located here, which means that our negatively charged oxygen will now be at this position where we've formed this brand new enolate. And then between these two carbons is where we can find our epoxide, as well as that alkyl chain that contains our protected alcohol, or this OTBS group. And from here, now that we've got this enolate, which we know can be used to act as a carbon nucleophile at the alpha carbon position, the only other electrophilic position that I see here would be to attack this carbonyl carbon, which means that when we collapse these electrons back down, these electrons will actually come over and attack this carbonyl carbon position, kicking up these pi electrons to oxygen. And that's actually how we begin to close that third ring. So this will give us a product that contains our still aromatic ring located here, we've formed a brand new 6-membered ring at this position, and importantly, what we've done is we've actually generated a situation where now we have a bridge head position where oxygen will act as the bridge head. So I will place an oxygen located here in this 6-membered ring. Because remember, this carbon is attaching to this carbon here. And that actually is the 5-membered ring that we see here, which is why here is where we find our negatively charged oxygen. So that 5-membered ring is still located here where we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 carbons. That is these carbons located here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that is a part of that fused ring system. Now, importantly, what we've done is we've also formed a carbon-to-carbon bond between here and here. And that means that we have a brand new ring that has been formed. So if we count those carbons, which I'll do in a different color so that you can see, this would be carbon 1, this would be carbon 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, which is how we get that 6-membered ring that we formed at this position. Because notice this amounts to carbons 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which matches up, if you're following along with the colors of our brand new fused ring that contains that 5-membered ring with the bridge head and our 6-membered ring here. And now importantly, this also already contained a 6-membered ring, which is why attached to this, both in our product and in our next intermediate, we end up with this 6-membered ring, which is where we can find that epoxide, still unreactive, and this alkyl group with the protected alcohol, or this OTBS group. And hopefully counting these carbons this way allows you to see how we go from this intermediate to this intermediate in this mechanism. And then now we're actually just one step to our final product. So now that we have formed this negatively charged oxygen, hopefully you can see that a carbon to oxygen double bond is pretty stable and strong, which means we'll drive this towards the reformation of that carbon to oxygen double bond, which will necessitate us kicking off this O- group as a leaving group when we do this reaction. So this is end up generating an alkoxide, and then following a protonation step, all that requires is that we protonate that negatively charged oxygen, which we kicked off here, to give us an alcohol at that position and get us to our final product. So again, this is a pretty cool reaction. First, we have deprotonation of a carbon to hydrogen bond using this strong, big, bulky base. Following a flow of electrons generating an enolate allows us to eventually get to what's almost like a Cascade Michael reaction with this alpha-beta unsaturated ketone, which ends up generating this product, which we can then do a nucleophilic attack from this alpha carbon, since we formed this enolate product, which will attack the electrophilic carbonyl group. And then subsequently, once those electrons collapse back down, this kicks off the alkoxide, following a protonation gets us to that alcohol, and ends up generating this pretty unique structure. If you enjoyed this week's mechanism, give it a thumbs up down below. And for next week, I'd love to see if you could figure out the electron-pushing arrow mechanism for this organic reaction. Drop your thoughts as a comment down below, and make sure that you subscribe to the channel so that you never miss out. I'll see you next week.